Welcome to the Mike Leaf Show here on the Warrior Sports Network. I'm Grant Wall, joined by Winona State head men's basketball coach Mike Leaf. And coach, this is our last week of the regular season.
Hard to believe.
It really is.
Fast it's gone.
It feels like it's just flown by. But just 2 games left in the regular season, and we'll get to those later this week. But let's look back first at last weekend. 2 wins over St. Cloud State in Minnesota Duluth. 2 different ways of winning that ball game. Saturday, you got out to a big lead early, Friday, got out to a big lead early, and then Saturday was a very tough and hard-fought battle.
Yeah, I think especially with St. Cloud, and we've always had such tough games with them in the past, and one of the things defensively that we knew we had to do was really shrink our gaps because they had such good athletes taking the ball to the basket, and I thought we did that really, really well. And in talking to Coach Nagel afterwards, he had mentioned that was a big key for us, and I said, man, just to get our guys to do that, on a weekly basis, it's like pulling teeth sometimes because they're so concerned about their man. But we were really focused on the ball, and we did a great job defensively, and it carried over, in a close game against Duluth. But again, defense won over.
Well, and defense really was on display on both sides. I think the last field goal of that game against Duluth was at the 6:14 mark. And so both teams played great defense down the stretch. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's something where there are nights, and we actually have been shooting the ball very well, but there are some nights where it's just, Duluth 1 for 10 in that first half from 3. And so you can always, your defense has to be there every game, and you got to be able to rely on it. And, we had a couple freshmen that really stepped up in the backcourt, and it was a big key for us.
One of those freshmen you mentioned who stepped up is Isaiah Gray, a freshman who came in, scored 16 on both nights. He's able to really get the ball to the basket and provide some offense that way.
It's just crazy. Beginning of the year, I told him I've had a lot of small guards, and he just has such a knack of getting that ball to the basket, and it doesn't matter how big the timber inside is. Right. And I said, you can prove me wrong, and he just stared at me at the beginning of the year, and he certainly has. Yeah. But, what a spark he's been defensively, and, with Taylor Cameron being hurt and him coming in there playing the defense that he can, and like you said, 16 points, that's really tough.
You have 4 freshmen on this team, and they have all stepped up. We've just talked about Isaiah. We've obviously talked a lot about Riley Bamanek and what he's been able to do. Kyle Bauman steps into the starting lineup and plays very, very well. And then Josh Mongan does the same thing, starting at point guard these last 2 games, and provided a real spark this weekend again.
Yeah, and Josh is, defensively, he's just so solid. And the great part about his game, we go back to that Augie game, and he had a few turnovers in that game, but since then it's almost been none. And he's just so good with the basketball and making those decisions, and he knows who's out there, who's in positions to score, and at the same time, if you leave him open, he's very deadly.
Talk about the turnovers for a little bit. You had 2 on Friday night, I think 5 on Saturday night. I mean, that's when you can take care of the basketball and shoot a high percentage, you're going to be pretty successul.
That's what I told Taylor Cameron after the game. No, it's so true, and just making really, really good decisions with the ball, and I think too is just we've had a little bit more patience. Trying to get our break going a little bit more, and a lot of times that'll cause a few more turnovers. But we need to really push that ball up the floor, even though we may not score right away, but we're certainly getting the opponent to run up and down and try and tire them out. But taking care of the ball, key element.
One last thing about last weekend, another guy who's great on the break, great in half court, great on defense is Kellen Taylor. And he had a fantastic all-around weekend, including he was just 2 assists short of a triple-double on Friday night. So he's really getting involved and getting active in every facet of the game.
Right. I told him that. I said, why don't you pass it a couple more times? Yeah. He goes, they weren't making them. And could you imagine a couple more of those going in? That would have been pretty neat. But, yeah, he had a fantastic weekend. He's had a fantastic year. And the leadership that he provides, the defense that he has, he's able to score, take it to the hole. And, for being he's a strong guy that doesn't look that strong, but the guy gets a lot of rebounds for us, and that's a big key. That's been the big key for us in the last, half of the season.
Absolutely. Well, it was 2 great ones last weekend as the Warriors beat St. Cloud State and Minnesota Duluth. 2 more good ones to end the regular season coming up this weekend, and we'll be back with Coach Leaf to talk a little bit about those later on this week.